What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Drive Talk Cars, and in today's episode we're going to be discussing about the Service B maintenance procedure. So let's get into the video. So if you own a Mercedes Benz, then I'm pretty sure you heard of Service A and Service B maintenance. Basically it is interval maintenance procedures that are done for the Service A is done the first year of ownership or 10,000 miles. And then after that is Service B, which is approximately 2 years to 20,000 miles. You just keep following that service maintenance schedule, alternating between A and B for the duration of the vehicle's life. But in today's video, we're gonna be talking specifically what Service B includes and how do you go about doing it. All right, so Service B, what's all included in that particular maintenance schedule? Basically, you do an oil change, which encompasses changing out your oil, obviously. Oil filter, check all your fluids, the levels for that, which is like your windshield wiper, your power steering fluid. And then you would check your tire pressure, make sure that's all correct. Do a brake fluid flush. Then you want to check the components of your brakes, make sure that everything's good. Brake pads, brake rotors, brake lines, and make sure all that stuff is good. Finally, you want to change out your cabin air filter. That's basically a filter that is inside the car that filtrates the air conditioning and the air coming into the cabin of the car. As I mentioned earlier, this is an interval maintenance routine. Now the car will give you a reminder when this is due. It's basically, for my car, I don't know what the newer ones are, but for my car, it gives you pretty much just like a countdown of when it's going to be due. So start counting down the days from when you reset it, and then it will let you know within 30 days and then all the way down to 0 days left, and then it says it's so many days past due. Now, with that being said, the reminder is just that, a reminder. At least for my car, it's not really going out there and seeing what needs to be done, what has been done. It's really just a countdown reminding you to, hey, you need to do your routine maintenance. Let's get a little closer detail of what you would need to do exactly. That way you can save yourself some money. All right, so we have our cabin filter here. So pretty much this is to keep the cabin air filtered, and a lot of times you'll start smelling a funny smell from your AC when they start going bad or start being too dirty. It's kind of an indication when it's time to replace your cabin air filter. So let me show you how to install this. So the cabin air filter is located on the passenger side of your vehicle underneath the glove box. So on the passenger side, I push the seat all the way back. That way you can have some space in between the dashboard and the seat. So under here, there is a plastic cover that you need to remove to access the cabin filter. There's 3 bolts, one right here, one right here, and one right here. So there's 3 little bolts like this. And to remove those bolts, you're gonna need a T25 star bit. Once I break it loose, I remove the ratchet. It's just easier just to do it with your hands. So now that we got those bolts loose, you can see that it comes down. Now this plate actually goes all the way to back here. You can move this back, and there you can see the rest of the plate right here. So we're gonna work this down. So here is the filter. Now we're gonna remove this plate completely, this little cover, but I just wanna show you where the air filter is. All right, so there's 2 connections that you wanna remove. First one is gonna be this air outlet temperature sensor right here. It's on the left side. And the other one's gonna be the floor panel light harness right here. It's more on the right side. And to remove this one, you turn it, be gentle, you just turn it towards the right, like that, and then it comes out. And for the light sensor, there's a little button right here. Push down on that, and then slide it out. And then you're good. So now you can move this panel without pulling anything out. So here's a look at the panel once it's out. Here's the screws. Then there's a little hook right here. It just hooks up in there to hold the back part of it. But here was the light, and then this is the port for the sensor over here. All right, so here's the air filter. and it has like a sliding mechanism to lock in the filter. Now you gotta open it all the way up, and then you can pull it out like that. All right, so we have the old one out. As you can see, it's pretty dirty. Here's the new one. Kind of give you some contrast between the two. And on the back side here. And as I move this, you can actually smell the odor from this filter. Then that's a sign, like I mentioned before, of it being old. So anytime AC is blowing in your car, you would smell that odor inside the cabin of the car. Now this is an OEM Mercedes Benz part. The part number is down below here. If you can't see that, I'll have it down in the description below the video, where you can obtain that. This one here is not Mercedes Benz branded, but it is OEM part, or maybe even OE. But as you can see, it's the same thing. Might be even better than the original. So I'll have the part to this one as well. This is by MANN-FILTER, which is an excellent company. And they also make the oil filter as well, and a lot of other filters for a lot of cars, especially European cars. But it goes in the same way. So let's put the new one in, and then we'll be done with the cabin air replacement part of the Service B maintenance. All right, so this is gonna go in pretty much the same way as it came out. So as you see there, I had it the wrong way. It does only go in one way. So go in there flush. All right, so that wasn't the easiest to get back on, to be honest, but you gotta push both sides at the same time so you can slide it over these little lips here. That way it keeps it all the way flush on both sides. But other than that, pretty much the same thing. So let's put the plate back on. Well, don't forget to put your sensor back in, as well as the light harness for your floor lamp. All right, put that in there, put that back in there. All right, so now we should be good. So you can fold this back now, the floor covering. Make sure that that's all in there good. All right, now we can put the screws back in and we're good to go. Now, if you're liking the video so far, please give me that thumbs up down below. It really helps me get more and more people in front of my videos, help the algorithm. That way, a lot more people can save money, learn how to work on their cars. So thank you for doing that. Let's get back into it. All right, so the oil change is part of the Schedule B. I've done a step-by-step video on how to do an oil change on the E63. So I have that linked in the description down below. Little card up here. Go and check that out if you're not familiar with it, and then come back to the video and finish watching how to finish the rest of your Service B maintenance. But let me just give you an overview of what is all involved in the oil change. All right, so when you're doing the oil change, here is your oil cap, here is your oil filter, and then underneath the car is going to be where you drain the oil. Now for the E63, there's 2 points where you can drain oil. The regular oil pan, and then in the front of the engine towards the bumper, there's going to be a oil cooler, and that has a drain port as well. And those are the 2 spots where you would drain out your oil. But if you need more detail, please go and see that video like I mentioned earlier. So one of the fluids of the Service B maintenance that you're going to want to check is going to be your coolant. Coolant does have a sensor in it, so if it gets too low, it will notify you, but it's good to have it at the optimal level before that even happens. Coolant is really important. It helps keeps the engine cool, and unlike water, it doesn't freeze and it doesn't boil as fast to where it doesn't evaporate as fast when it's reaching those high temperatures. So that's why you want to make sure your coolant is at optimal level. All right, so the coolant that I'm going to be using is Bento Frost NF. It is recommended as one of the compatible fluids for my year and model of my car. Make sure that you check with your specific model and trim and all that of your Mercedes Benz to make sure that you have the right coolant. Some of them are colored. Some are pink, blue, green. I've seen orange, I've seen all of them. So just don't use any antifreeze. Make sure you have the right one for your particular setup. This is a concentrate. So what that means is you're gonna have to put distilled water to cut it 50-50. Distilled water is preferred because it doesn't have any of the minerals and things in it that will cause problems and corrosion and stuff like that. So we're gonna do 50 water, 50 coolant, and that'll make our mixture. I'm gonna do it outside of the reservoir so I can make sure that I have the right amount and I don't waste product. So if you're not familiar with where the reservoir is for your coolant, it's on the passenger side, right in front of your battery terminal. One thing to be mindful of when you go to open up your reservoir is to make sure that the engine has cooled off. You don't want to open this up when the engine is hot just after driving or anything like that. There's a lot of pressure in here, a lot of steam will build up. And if you try to open this up, you can get burnt from the steam that comes off of or out of the reservoir. Just a little tip. So as you can see down there, there's a white part and a black part. The white part should be fully covered by the liquid. And as you can see, it is not. So we want to fill it up to that black part. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to mix half and half of the concentrate and the distilled water. It's a pretty cool color. Looks like it's glowing. And then the water. Looks about 50-50. So we have it right up there to the black line, and that's where you want it. All right, so now that we have filled up the coolant to the proper level, we can move on to the next fluid, which is going to be the power steering fluid. All right, don't make fun of me. I know I'm missing the star here. I have to get that replaced. Anyway, to get to the power steering, all we have to do is remove this front cover here. And we set that to the side. And then here is your power steering reservoir. One thing you want to do is clean off the surrounding areas because dirt inside of that could cause issues. So we just clean that off around the rim and the lid. And to get this off, what you want to do is push down and then turn 90 degrees. So I'm pressing down and turning. It is a little stiff, but you should be okay. Reminds me of a medicine top lid, like a pill bottle, for how you push down and then turn. All right, it's only going to turn 90 degrees. As you can see, it'll stop, and then you pull straight up. So attached to the lid is a dipstick. Once you pull it out, then you can see the level of your fluid. All right, so if you see here, there is a couple of things going on with the dipstick. On the bottom half, where it says 20 degrees Celsius, that's the level it should be at when it's cold. And you see the top level there, it says 80 degrees Celsius. That's where it should be at when it's warm. So we're gonna wipe this off, kind of like how we do an oil stick. That way we can get a better reading. Then we're gonna put it back in there, and then pull it straight up. And that should tell us how much we have in there. All right, so as you see there, for me, it is at the max for while cold. All right, with it all the way locked in, we're good with the power steering. Then we put the cover back on. So the next fluid in the Service B maintenance is going to be the windshield wiper fluid. If you're not familiar where this is located, it's in the front driver side, right behind the headlight. So and it has a big blue cap. So you just peel this back and mine is empty. Now, this is monitored, so if it does get below the threshold or too low, then it will come on in your car, which mine has while making this video. So I already knew it was empty, but if you don't know, it's always good to top it off before it gets too low. All right, so last of the fluids that you want to check is going to be your brake fluid. Now, we don't really have to check this. I mean, it's good to check it to make sure it's at the right level, which should be max in this case. But with every Service B, you're gonna go ahead and do a brake fluid flush. That's gonna remove all the old brake fluid and put new brake fluid into your system. And this is recommended for every 2 years. So that's why I say every time you do a Schedule B, you're gonna do it, because Schedule Bs come up every 2 years. So let's check it out, see how our fluid is looking, and then we're gonna go ahead and proceed with flushing out the system. Now, I already did this on the channel before. It was on the Maserati. So the same procedure is gonna apply because they both have Brembo brakes and the system is essentially the same thing. So I won't go into too much detail and step by step. If you want to see that, I have the link down in the description below, and I have a little card up here. That way you can click on that and check that out. Come back to this video and finish up your Schedule B maintenance. All right, so the brake fluid reservoir is going to be located in the front on the driver's side, right in front of the firewall. And on here you want to see that the fluid is at max. All right, as we can see here, the fluid is at max. This is the fluid here. This is the empty spot. Minimum's down here. So we're good to go as far as the fluid. So now we're going to extract this and then put new fluid in here and then flush out the old through the brake line system. So the brake fluid I'm going to be using is a DOT4. That's what the brake fluid is in there now, and that's what the car requires. So you gotta make sure you have DOT4 for your brake fluid. This is a compatible supported brake fluid, Mercedes approved. This might even be OEM. I believe I did see that it was. I can't pronounce this name here. Brimfrusterskro. I'm not exactly sure how you say that, but I will have a link to this product in the description down below, as well as all the other products that I've used for today's Service B maintenance. But this is 1.6 quarts. I bought 2 bottles. Not sure if you're gonna need 2 bottles. Probably 1 bottle suffice because it really doesn't use that much brake fluid, but I just have one on reserve just in case. And once again, you're gonna use it every 2 years. Now, once you open it, you cannot reuse this. If you don't use it all, you need to toss it in the trash. Also, if you haven't seen the other video, like I said, this is highly corrosive. So you don't want to get this on anything. Spill it on your paint's done. Metal, it's gonna rust. Plastic, it probably melt. So don't spill this. Be very careful when doing your brake fluid. So some things that you're gonna need, or you don't necessarily have to have, but this is what I have. I have an extractor and I have a bleeder, a power bleeder. That way I can do it by myself. And like I mentioned, video for step-by-step is in the description down below. But you extract the old fluid out, and then we're gonna put the new fluid in the reservoir. Then we're gonna put the other fluid into the pump. This will keep the fluid pumping through the system. So let's get started. So like I said before, brake fluid is very corrosive, so you wanna protect all of this area and the paint so you don't spill anything on it. So as you can see, it's pretty dirty. It should be clear to a yellowish hue when it's brand new. So as you can see, this is the new brake fluid. You see how clear it is and it has that yellow hue to it. And this is the old brake fluid. It has more of a brown, almost like apple juice looking color. So just so you can see the differences in why we are changing out the brake fluid. All right, so now that we have the tire off, we're going to do an inspection of the rotor, the brake pads on all 4 tires. That's part of the Service B maintenance as well. So don't forget to look for cracks in the rotor disc or any type of imperfections. Also, the brake pad, you want to see how much wear is on the brake pads. Sometimes the sensor doesn't pick it up in time before certain pads go out. So make sure that you do a visual inspection and not just relying on the sensor. So on the E63, the bleed valve is on the back here and there's a cover. You want to remove that. So that's the bleed valve, and then there's a bolt right here. And for that, you're going to use an 11mm box wrench. Then from there, you hook up your hose here. Once you hook that up, then you're good to go to bleed the system. going, we're good. Level still at max. We're done with the brake fluid. All right, so next on the list is going to check all four tires for proper tire pressure. This is essential to having a safe vehicle. When you operate the vehicle under high speeds, you don't want to have it underflated or overinflated. And also it provides for even wear on your tires. So there's two ways that you can check your tire pressure. You can use the onboard monitoring system, the TPMS, or you can use a good old-fashioned tire pressure gauge. So we're going to use both. Sometimes the TPMS is off, so I like to use this as well. Now, if you don't know how much the tire pressure is, or the correct tire pressure, you can check it on your door seal. There's a label that actually tells you what you need to put. All right, so you open up your door, and then on the inside here, it tells you what you should have for your tire pressure. All right, so for me, it says that the front should have 39 PSI and the rear should have 44 PSI. All right, so we're gonna navigate to the tire pressure. So we're gonna inflate those into the right pressure. All right, so we're gonna check the tire pressure. And we have 34 PSI. All right, so now that we have completely done all of the Service B maintenance, we can go ahead and reset the reminder. And to do this, you need to come inside the car and use a hidden menu that you have to access using these buttons here. You use the call button as well as the OK button, and then the menu will come up. So let me show you. So we're going to use the call button and then the OK button. The car has to be on the first position, which is the auxiliary on the key. If you have a push button, press it once. If you have a key, turn it to the first position. And in order to access this hidden menu, you're going to have to be on the miles screen. So we're going to hold the call button and then press OK. So you'll see this menu here. This is the hidden menu. You want to scroll down to Assist Plus, press OK. Then you're going to see Service Data, then you're going to see Full Service. You want to click on Full Service. So what you're going to see next is Service 2, 3, 4, and Confirm Full Service. Since we have done the full service, we're going to select that one. Service 2, 3, and 4 are just going to be additional services outside of the regular A and B service. So we're going to click Confirm Full Service. Well, it's going to ask you, was the service carried out? We're going to say yes. And then it said, hey, can't be undone. Do you confirm? We're going to say yes. And there you go, full service has been carried out. And now you won't see that screen pop up anymore for your service maintenance. And as you see there, it has updated and it says next service will be A3 in 365 days. So A3 is going to be your service A with that service 3 add-on. And after that, you are done. All right, so that completes the service. Hopefully you will try this yourself and save yourself a little bit of money, and nonetheless, you will get to know your car a little bit more. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. And remember, do it until you can't. Until next time, I'm out. So if you haven't done so already, check out drivetalkcars.com. That way you can get your own merch just like this. I have hoodies, t-shirts, jet tags, and stickers. So check it out.